Hello, welcome to this next video, CMI Assignment 502, and today focusing on assessment criteria 3.1. So this is task 3A, rather excitingly, a written account which discusses methods that can be used to monitor and manage individual and team performance. Wow, monitoring and managing individual and team performance. It's a Thursday. Thursdays don't get much better than this. Okay, assessment criteria 3.1. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to discuss methods used to monitor and manage individual and team performance. So we've got to have a discussion and we've got to talk about a couple. So it says methods. Let's talk about a couple of different methods that could be used either for individuals or teams. I'm going to give a little example. There we go. So, right. So it says discuss. So with discuss, we need to give a detailed account, including a range of views or opinions, which include contrasting perspectives. I think a good way of doing this is looking at, if you look at your metrics, how you measure performance, what might, if you like, the directors of a business say about that? That would be one perspective. What might the person leading the team say about it? And also, what might those team members say themselves? It might be different. Again, it could be different opinions. So, what might be really effective and good for the business might not always be so well received by the people who are being measured or monitored. So one thing I have was a client I work for. They want feedback on training. Feedback on training has to be an average of 9.4 out of 10. I look at that and I think, well, that's wild. That's so good for them, good for the business, because it means that they get great Trustpilot results, all that sort of thing. I look at it and I think, well, it's completely unrealistic because all you need is one person in a group of 10 to take a bit of liking to you, a bit of a disliking to the tutor, or not really to be fully present and in the room, and all the rest, and give you a lower score, and that completely throws your numbers out, and it means that you could come in under that despite having 9 out of 10 people perfectly happy. So, well, hang on a minute. Even 9 out of 10 people could give you a 9, which is pretty good, and they ultimately, yeah, and you're still below where you need to be. So it's sort of like, I can see how from a business perspective, yeah, fantastic to have that measure. Going to do really, really well. And, you can promote excellent things. Actually, from the individual on the coal face's perspective, um, it might not necessarily be perceived to be helpful or realistic. If anything, it could just be a whopping great cause of stress, particularly when these sorts of metrics aren't agreed, when they're just imposed from above. So, yeah, so a discussion, that's what we're after. One thing, all right, so is setting smart objectives. You'll have encountered this before. Smart objectives is an idea which has been around for decades. It is pretty good in certain situations or contexts. So this is where we agree or set objectives for individuals or teams that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. Smart objectives. And again, if we look at our objective and we make sure that it hits all of those 5 points, it's going to be a very crystal clear objective, and also we can see achievable. Again, that was the thing, 9.4 out of 10 as an average. Is that achievable? Question mark, question mark. Well, actually, do you know, it bizarrely it is, but I sometimes think more by luck than by skill. So smart objectives, they create certainty and clarity. However, they don't necessarily allow for the possibility of change, unexpected outcomes, or complexity. So, you could find that actually you take action and you find it has an unexpected outcome. Your smart objective doesn't necessarily allow for that sort of ambiguity, uncertainty, or the messiness of certain activities or work that we go on. So, I might say, I'm working on a book at the moment. Okay, my smart objective for that could be to have a book published and to have 100,000 people read it by the end of 2025. That's 2024 now. I could set that objective, uh, not entirely unachievable. That would be, it's fairly specific, it's measurable, it's certainly relevant to me and based in time, if I say by the end of 2025. However, there are so many things that could go wrong. It's like finding, is the publisher good at promoting the book? Do people like it? I mean, ultimately, is it a good book? Is it good enough? All these sorts of things that actually, for something reasonably complex like that, A smart objective will give you, I suppose, something to aim for, but it just doesn't really account for all of the uncertainty that goes with that, that goal ultimately. So I would say with smart objectives, they are fine for operational work where there's a high level of certainty and things are largely understood. So again, if you're doing something that you've done before, you know how it works, smart objectives, absolutely great. But they're not quite right for strategic objectives or work that requires creativity. Creative work is inherently messy and uncertain. There are false starts. There are going to be things that you're going to try or test that either won't work or might have unexpected outcomes. Ultimately, not all work is like a Swiss clock, your Swiss watch. It's much more. It's much more uncertain and complex than that. So smart objectives are fine where we have high levels of certainty and things are understood. They kind of run out of steam if our work is creative, or complex or strategic in nature. So let's look at another example. Objectives and key results. OKRs, increasingly popular. I found myself talking about this quite a lot over the last couple of years. What are objectives and key results? They're an interesting measure, actually, quite different to KPIs, although KPIs might tally into it, but slightly different focus here. So it's a relatively recent model for guiding and evaluating team performance. I would say possibly also individual performance as well. They're particularly useful when the team is implementing a change. So these are a little bit more strategic in nature, and they do allow, I think, for a little bit more of that messiness and uncertainty that you get when it comes to changing things or testing out innovations or new ways of working in a way that smart objectives don't really allow for. It's a systematic goal setting device to convey purpose, path, and progress. So the objectives, the objective is what you're hoping to achieve. Your objective, and it can be qualitative. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to be really nailed down. It doesn't have to have a number attached to it. And it can be aspirational. So it can be, it could be a bit of a vision. Your objective doesn't necessarily have to be really nailed down and certain and statistically supported and all of that. So qualitative and aspirational is fine. Now, your key results, on the other hand, will be clear, measurable targets that will let you know if you're on the right track. So your objective could be, right, to have a book published in the next 12 months. Key results could be, well, book completed and with publishers by within the next 3 months. So okay, so that's more certain, isn't it? So published in next 12 months, that's an objective. Things that are kind of on the way to that. One key result, yeah. So actually completed, all right, within the next 3 months. Fantastic. Sent off to 12 publishers in the next 3 months. Another key result could be gain feedback from 20 readers to see whether the book is viable and whether it's actually any good. So again, that would be a key result. Totally, that you see, it's harder, it's firmer. Now, it's not necessarily getting it done. It's not the key results aren't by any means complete, but each one, they are kind of they're way markers. They're kind of measurable trackers that let us know if we're moving towards our qualitative and aspirational objective. OKR, so it's kind of a bit of a combination between, if you like, the vision and then the key measures to show that you're moving towards your vision. Let me do an example. So we are a team of people and we run the Castle Museum. I think this might be the museum in York, actually. So, if anyone's been there, that might be familiar. So here we are. We are a team of people. We're a team and we're responsible for the successful running of this museum. Right, we've got an objective, our objective, so it's qualitative and aspirational. We need to make the museum more relevant to the local community. Sounds like a pretty good goal for a team of people running a museum. And as I said, this isn't nailed down by metrics. It's not, this isn't a KPI. It's a little bit more change related than that. We're looking at boosting its relevance to the local community. So all pretty good. But how would we know if we're getting there? Well, that's where our key results come in. So our key result one, grow the number of monthly visitors from the local area 30% by the next quarter. Okay, so however many we've got in the last quarter, we've got one thing that will tell us whether we are moving towards our objective will be, have we got more people coming through the door? 30% more people coming through the door by the next quarter. Let's have a look at another one. Host 2 community events focused on attracting local donors in the next 3 months. All right, so that's another key result for us to aim for. Again, so that is it's quantifiable. It is fairly smart, isn't it? That is fairly certain and clear. And again, if we do that, again, it's not necessarily achieving the objective, but it would be a notable landmark that would tell us that we're absolutely making progress. There we go. So our OKRs, bit of a balance between the qualitative and the quantitative, if you like, the aspirational and the certain. A little bit of yin and yang here. So we've got our overarching objective, the thing that we're trying to achieve or work towards, key results, the key measurable metrics that tell us whether we are on track or not. And again, if we see if we're not hitting those key results, that would suggest that we might have gone askew. Have we lost our focus? Do we need to make some changes to how we're working? Do we need to reorientate ourselves to that objective so that we do indeed achieve it? Nice little tool for measuring change-related work and activity. And as you see, just allows for that little bit more creativity and strategy than a SMART objective. So over to you. How would you measure team performance? What do you use? Do you have anything that you use already? If you would like to talk about something different that is in your experience, that you've used, different to those two measures I've discussed, please do. What do you think the advantages and the disadvantages of that approach might be? And remembering we need different perspectives here. So again, that perspective of the person leading the team, the perspective of people who are being measured against that objective. How might those different viewpoints relate to that method? Does it support performance and improvement? So does it work? Is that your view? Have you, in terms of using it, have you found that actually that tool or that approach to measurement actually delivers a better performance from people? And then, how might your followers, team members feel about that approach? So just to kind of generate a little bit of discussion. It's really important with this action word that we don't just approach it with one viewpoint. We want to see how might different stakeholders or different people at different levels feel about that method. And then we're there. So that's it. Another one down. Thank you very much. And nearly there with 3.2. So well done. Keep it going. Not much more to do. The finish line is in sight.